When I think about it, one of the biggest factors in my depression has been how I handled loss and recalibration and changing of plans. I've throughout my life kind of been the sort of person that got very attached to things, very attached to ideas and thoughts and plans and people and all kinds of stuff. And 2020 has been an interesting year for that. It's been a year just totally filled with lessons in loss and recalibration and getting over things and moving past things. And it's been painful, I'm not going to lie, and that's a lot of the reason why I was feeling really low. But I've been thinking today and over the last couple of days about how you look at loss and how you think about loss. My family today suffered a little bit of a loss, a disappointment. It was very minor when you really get down to it. We had a awesome little private camping spot that we used to go to in the forest by the river. It was amazing. It was just an awesome little spot. We were there for 5 years. We had a great relationship with the landlords, everything, and circumstances changed unexpectedly and we had to leave, and it's all of a sudden it's just like, man. And I was just starting to get to this point where it's like, man, I want to be the kind of person who spends more time in the wilderness. I want to be the kind of person who goes out, and I was planning to go out to this spot every weekend for the rest of the summer, and all of a sudden my plans had to change. And I was pretty bummed out for a day or two. About a day. 'Cause we found out on Tuesday. Today's Saturday. So yeah, I found out on Tuesday, pretty bummed out all day Wednesday, a bit Thursday, and then we kind of started putting together a plan to get out of there and move on and recalibrate. And I started thinking about my summer, and it's like, well, I was actually getting a little bit bored about going there, and it was the same scenery all the time, and it's the same stretch of river. In many ways, I would rather go out to the wilderness where I would explore new territory. But because we had this place that was super convenient and reasonably close, and all the amenities were there that we needed, it was familiar and it was comfortable, I probably wouldn't have gone out and explored quite as much. Now I have no choice. I still want to go out and camp. I still want to rescue the rest of the season. But that was a minor loss. 2020 has been a year filled with actually pretty significant losses in my life. I recently lost one of my oldest childhood mentors, a guy who was like, he was a father figure in my life in very many ways. Him and my mother were never involved, but other than that, he very much helped raise me. And he recently died, not unexpectedly, but kind of unexpectedly. He was pretty young, 67, I think, and he went too early, and it was a big loss. It was really the closest thing I've ever experienced to losing a parent to death. I was raised by a single mom, so I experienced the loss of my father, not because he died, but for other reasons, when I was young. But I'd never lost somebody permanently, and that was a really interesting thing, because although in the last few years of his life we weren't particularly close, I still have tons of amazing memories with him and tons of thoughts and feelings associated with him, and it was just a really interesting thing. It was the first time I had to process that. And I also this year lost my first significant fulfilling romantic relationship that I've ever had, and that was really painful too. It's everybody out there probably knows the pain of that, and it's a lot to process. And then it's like, then I've lost a couple other things that unexpectedly, but with all of those losses came slight change in plans. I had an uncle die last week, not a guy I was that close with, but still a guy who had a significance in my life and was reasonably close to me. And it's just been interesting, and then with the loss of this campsite, it's sparked a lot of things. It's a small little thing in the really grand picture of things. It's simple to go find a new place to hang out in the forest, whatever. It's no big deal, but it's amazing how you realize how attached you can get to stuff and people and places and things, and I'm realizing that, and I'm realizing what a big part that has played in my up and down cyclical journey dealing with depression. Oftentimes one of the triggers for me to go on a downward spiral is the loss of something that I had an attachment to in my life. And this most recent one was triggered by one of those losses, and well, by a few of those losses. And oftentimes in the past, when I look at periods in my life that felt particularly low, often they were triggered by loss. So it's been an interesting lesson in detachment and realizing how attached you can get to stuff and people and places and ideas even. You know, you have a vision of what the future is going to look like. I had a very clear vision of what I thought the future was going to look like going into 2020, and I think just like a lot of people did, got blindsided by what happened, you know? Got blindsided and all the plans suddenly changed. We had to pivot, and one of the problems with being really attached to stuff like that is it makes it very painful to pivot, and it's very painful to look at other ways and other solutions, and you end up hanging on for no reason. It doesn't do you any good. It drags you down, it makes you feel like crap, and it bums you out ultimately, just like it did for me. So it's just been fascinating to think about the attachment to stuff, and it's been a really eye-opening thing to ponder. But I'm really fascinated because this last few weeks, like I said in my last video, I've been eating a whole lot better. I've been feeling a whole lot better. I've lost 19 pounds now. I feel amazing, and because of that, my mind is a lot clearer, you know, because I'm eating cleaner and I'm focusing more on what I need and taking care of myself and doing things that relax me, you know, like sitting by a fire instead of sitting there watching the news, and just kind of looking at life more through a lens of what do I want out of life and how do I get that, as opposed to what do I need to do right now just to survive and get by to the next day. Because you can survive or you can thrive, and it's up to you what you do. It's up to me what I do and how I proceed. And like I said, I recently kind of made the decision that if I'm going to be the kind of guy I want to be and live the kind of life I want to live, I have to make it happen. I have to do it. I have to take the action and act like that person. And you know, the loss of my dear friend of mine this year has really reminded me of that, because he was only 67. I'm going to be 31 in a week. And it's like, man, I was not quite halfway to where he died. So if I was him, I would be halfway through my life, just about. And I mean, I don't like to look at it that way, because you never know how much time you have left. You should make the best of every single moment. But stuff like that is a really good reminder. And having that attachment to things in the past does nothing but drag you down. You know, I heard a really good quote one time. It said, depression is being attached to things in the past, and anxiety is being attached to things in the future. You know, you're either worried about something that hasn't happened yet, or you're sad about something that already happened and is over. And it's a really interesting way to look at it, and in many ways a liberating way to look at it for me. You know, I think about it, it's like, well, it kind of puts things into perspective, you know. Anyway, I just wanted to share those couple thoughts with you. I was just sitting here thinking about a lot of kind of things, and I thought this is something important. So thanks for being here, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.